Welcome to the Food Junkies podcast. Here, we aim to bring you the experience, strength, and hope of professionals working on the front lines in the field of food addiction. Our mission is to educate you, the listener, and increase overall awareness about food addiction as a recognized disorder. Here, we discuss all things recovery, exploring the many pathways people take towards abstinence in order to achieve a health-forward lifestyle. We hope to inspire you to thrive rather than just survive. So stay positive, make a change for yourself, and share your journey with others. And hopefully the message will spread.
Keto is well known in the food addiction world because when you stop eating carbs, you stop eating sugar. However, not much is known about the vegetarians and how they avoid the sugar-free life. Many individuals think that being vegan and low carb and sugar-free is impossible. Is this true? Welcome to the Food Junkies podcast. My name is Dr. Vera Tarman, and I am your host today, speaking with Adina Mullen, plant-based chef and author of Vegan Flavors of the World, a culinary exploration of plant-based recipes from every corner of the globe. Today's episode is for anyone who's trying to build a plant-based way of eating that actually feels satisfying and delicious, but without the sugar. Additionally, we'll cover other matters such as how to ensure sufficient protein intake and how to eat low-carb foods vegetarian style. Adina is a private chef and founder of Adina's Delicacies. She specializes in gourmet vegan cuisine, and her work focuses on whole foods, global flavors, and how culture, heritage, and memory can shape the way we nourish ourselves. Welcome, Adina.
And this is it. If anybody is interested, I got to get the thing straight. Very eye-catching. If you see the deconstruction pepper, you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, it is really eye-catching. We always start with, how did you get interested in plant-based foods and then in becoming a chef?
So I've always loved baking and cooking. I originally wanted to be a wedding cake designer and bake wedding cakes. And so I started doing that a little bit, and I realized how intense of a job it is, and you really have to commit 3 or 4 days. And if you get sick or if there's any kind of issues, like, you're on the line. I did it a couple times. I enjoyed it. I made some cakes for some friends and stuff. And then I was like, this is a little bit too much. I do enjoy making desserts, but I really also enjoy cooking. So I went and worked at a couple restaurants and bakeries. And at the time, I was learning like traditional French techniques, and it was traditional French restaurant. So a lot of rabbit, a lot of fish, a lot of meat. Like, it wasn't vegan. And I personally wasn't really eating those types of foods, but I was like, I like the concept of learning how to make it. And then I started having a lot of health issues, and I found out that I was allergic to casein and duck and chicken eggs. And then from there, I found out I had like small allergies to like lamb and other meat products. So for me, it really started there. And I had already learned how to make all these traditional desserts and food recipes. And I personally love to travel. I love immersing myself in like to different cultures and really taking their food, not so much like you're eating something, you're like, I just want to transfer this and make it into a plant-based dish. I really want to keep the culture and like the texture and like the memory. If you live there and you try the plant-based version, it doesn't feel like you're missing something. Because I think a lot of times when people are eating food, it's the memories they get while they're eating the food that really makes them love it. So I wanted to keep that authentic in the food. And so I took all these recipes that I learned how to make, and I just figured out how to alter them into plant-based versions. And obviously nowadays it's a little bit easier than like 20 years ago, where I don't have to make all my vegan cheeses myself. I don't have to make my plant-based milks. Like, I have a little bit of like a buffer there. I can go to the store and get it. So that definitely saves me time. And I feel like it really helps like other chefs and cooks when they're reading the book. I'm like, all right, here is how to do it if you really want to. However, if you want a shortcut, here's some great products you can go and use. So that's really how my journey began.
Are you sugar-free? Just curious about your stand on that.
So I personally am not sugar-free, but I work with all different types and I respect their, what they're working on in their body. And I basically believe if something isn't working for you, then you shouldn't eat it. I would say I'm sugar like moderate, I don't cut it completely out of my diet. I still consume fruits and I still make my desserts with like sugar and or brown sugar. I do have keto recipes where I'll use like monk fruit and stuff, and then I'll use other alternatives. So I really like to be able to play around with all ingredients and figure out what tastes best. But my belief is that with whole food eating and like living a healthy lifestyle, like obviously you wouldn't eat the same thing every day. If you had a carrot salad every single day, that would be excessive as well. So I never tell people like eat 4 desserts a day. Like it should be in moderation. It's like a treat, it's not your whole base food. It's something that you just sprinkle in every now and then. But I also believe that if you have like food addiction or you just are diabetic or you just don't do well eating that, it's my belief that just cut it out. Because some people are really good. They're like, I can have a cookie. And some people are like, I have to eat all 500 cookies. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe then that's not really in your.
But your recipes could be accommodated for somebody who wanted to avoid sugar or even sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And on my website, I put like I would say like 17 allergens that are most prominent. And then I'm always like, most things can be altered, especially if it's like a sugar substitute, then it's usually not a problem at all.
What's the difference between a vegetarian lifestyle and a whole food plant-based lifestyle? There's a distinction there that I'd like you to make.
Absolutely. So people that are vegetarian, and this is like where I think the term needs a little bit of clarification. And I wish that there was like more than one term vegetarian, because I know vegetarians that are like, I will eat fish. And I'm like, okay. And then there are vegetarians that don't eat any meat products. However, they will eat products like cheese, milk, dairy products, eggs. So my definition of a vegetarian is somebody that doesn't eat animals, but they will eat products that come from animals. So they'll eat honey, they'll eat eggs, they'll eat cheese, they'll eat milk, and then some vegetarians will eat fish. Others will not. Vegans or plant-based diets, you don't eat anything that comes from an animal. So no animal products at all, no fish, no meat, no chicken, and then nothing that comes from the animals, no cheese, dairy, eggs. And then there are also some vegans that won't eat honey, and then some that will. So this is like a hot topic for a lot because some people think that the pollination of the bees is actually helpful to them. Others think that you're hurting the bees. So it's like one of those things. And then I know a couple vegans that will eat eggs if they're like pasteurized, they can free range, or if they're from a farm where all the chickens are just like in a coop and like they're like they only take small orders and they're really well taken care of. So but a traditional vegan doesn't eat any animal products. So that's the difference between the two.
And then there's also the difference between a whole food versus non-whole food, right?
Yeah. So most people, when you say whole foods, it's things where if you were to look at it, there'd be like 1 or 2 ingredients. A banana is a whole food. Broccoli is a whole food. Tofu is a whole food. It's when you go and you buy a pint of ice cream, there's multiple ingredients in it. You go and you buy a pre-made like frozen meal. And especially if you're like, I can't pronounce this, then it's not a whole food. So when you think of whole foods, it's something where it's one thing to make that food. Being a vegan 20 years ago was a lot easier because there wasn't this built-in hype. Oh, okay, now we have all these meats that we can use, which is another topic that I actually find really fascinating because people are always like, why are vegans trying to eat meat without eating meat? My personal opinion, I think those vegan meat products are actually made for non-vegans. So they can and then every now and then the vegans will be like, I'm going to a barbecue and everyone's eating hamburgers and I want a hamburger because everybody wants to feel like they're included in like the tribe. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's made out of beans or whatever. I need variety. I can't just eat the same 3 things every day. And then it came about because like people really just people are busy. They're like, I don't have time to curd make my own butter and spend hours making milk and then cheese and then making dinners every night that take 3 hours. Sometimes I just want to go to the store and buy this prepackaged meal. And there are some companies that are definitely a little bit better than others that are more whole based, or you can hire a chef to like customize your meal, but then that also gets pricey. So you're like, it's really what is in your budget. And I feel like everyone has their top three things they're willing to spend their money on. So some people are like, I'll pay for food, I'll pay for art, I'll pay for cars, I'll pay for travel. Like everyone picks their like top three.
Yeah.
And some people, like me personally, I'll spend a little bit more on food, but some people are like, my time is really valuable. I don't care as much what I put in my body. And some people can just get away with it and eat whatever they want and they're fine. And some people are like, that really takes a toll on me and I can't afford to do that.
You mentioned a number of things, and one of them being time and expense as being obstacles. If somebody does want to get away from the ultra processed foods and they're focusing on the whole food plant-based, what would be the first change that you would recommend so that the person doesn't feel like they're restricted?
I personally feel like when you tell yourself you can't have something 100%, then you like find ways to cheat. So my approach would be like, whatever your diet is, this is your diet over here. And this is your diet that you want to achieve. And you have 10 things in this diet and you have 10 things in this one. Take one or two out and then switch them with one or two here. And then every day or two or week or something, just slowly take away. So you don't feel like you're losing everything. And you're still, some people are going to be like, I'm not just starting and being perfect. And I was like, but you're working towards a goal and you're probably reducing your cholesterol and you're cutting out your sugar and whatever else your goal is. You don't have to stop dead. If you had an addiction to like morphine or heroin or something, you just stopped, it could kill you. So I'm not saying that's going to happen with food. So slowly inching to your goal. And then for time management, like what I like to do, I'll take an entire day and I'll just turn on music and it'll be my cooking day. And I'll make big batches of certain things. And sometimes I'll be very minimal on the spices because they'll be my bases. And then during the week, I'll add like my protein or something to it. And I find that if like I have my oven on all day and I just keep putting things in it, my energy cost might not be as high because you're not turning it on and off and on and off. So I'll do a bunch of grilled vegetables. I'll also like maybe pop in some tempeh or tofu or something in there and cook it. And then also like I'll make a bunch of rice and quinoa and lentils and stuff like that. And then I'll have that all week as my base and then add things to it. So that also can save you a lot of time. Also, if I'm making like sauces, I'll make them ahead of time. And those, a lot of times, I also feel like if you make them ahead of time, they taste a little better if you let them marinate for a day or two because all the flavors really merge in well together. So that's something I like to do. And those things are really sometimes the most time consuming. When you only have one item to add in, then your meal prep might only be like 10 to 30 minutes.
In the keto versus the plant-based communities, there's a lot of people who say that they might eat plant-based, but they're not satisfied because they need fat. The whole theory there is that you eat fat to satiety. That's the satiety mechanism. When somebody says, how will I feel satisfied when I eat plant-based? How would you give that level of satisfaction that they're searching for?
I would ask like what fats they're considering because there are a lot of plant-based fats, like avocados, really fattening. So that would be, and it's considered a healthy fat. So
you'd be okay with it.
I'm wondering, keto avocado is a great fat to eat and it's completely plant-based. It has one ingredient, avocado.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I'd actually be interested because I'm not really sure what are considered fats other than, are we talking about like carbohydrate fats or
Yeah, you're right.
meats?
The kind of fats that would be advocated would be avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, and those are all plant-based.
A lot of people that think like certain carbs are fat because of how they're broken down, or a lot of them are plant-based too, like sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, rice, quinoa, lentils. Unless you're adding like beef stock to them, they're all plant-based.
People come to the vegetarian world and say, I want to be vegetarian, maybe for ethical reasons, but I don't like vegetables. I don't like broccoli. I don't like celery. So what do I do? How do you make those foods that often people don't like into something that is actually enticing?
I definitely think some of the reasons they don't like it is because the way it's prepared. And Obviously, if you can make your own dressings, because this is part of the problem too. They're like, I love salad, but I have to put like half a cup of dressing on it. And I'm like, the salad's not the problem. It's the dressing that's the problem. It's really easy to make a dressing that's super fast. Like it actually takes less time to make the dressing than it takes to make the salad a lot of times. So, and you don't have to have a cold salad. You can have a hot salad, but like a little bit of oil, a little bit of mustard, a little bit of vinegar, little garlic if you're not low FODMAP, and salt, pepper. You got a dressing right there. If you can tolerate it, a little bit of maple syrup if you want like a tinge of sweetness, or even just lemon. And you can make a big batch of that. Just shake it up because it'll separate, and super healthy. You can add it to like any salad or even like your warm rice dishes or something. And there's tons of other ones. Like you can make things with cilantro, some kind of like chimichurri that you can pour onto your protein. I make that. A lot of times I'll make a big batch and it can sit in your fridge for a week or two and it just builds on the flavor. I personally love roasting vegetables. I really think it holds the flavor of the food in, and you don't lose much of the nutrients.
Yeah, a lot of that sweetness comes out.
Absolutely. And the nice thing too is when you roast them, whatever spices you put on it, they just soak into the vegetables. So I personally, that's one of my favorite ways. I don't like boiled vegetables very much. I think that it just sucks the life out of the vegetable. So I would ask like how they're preparing their vegetables, because they can be delicious. Also, you can roast them on your barbecue. And then if you add a little bit of liquid smoke or you just let them char a little, they have so much flavor. And obviously, we're not going to every single vegetable. Like I definitely have ones that I go to way more than others. If you just really don't like tomatoes or something, just don't eat them. But there's 50 plus vegetables out there. There's got to be something you like.
How else can you make foods to bring it out? There's texture, there's making them crunchy somehow. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So especially from if you don't want to use a lot of fat, if you have an air fryer or like on your microwave, if you have one of those microwave ovens that kind of turn into an oven, you have a heating element like a browning pan, something like that. You can cook them that way too, so they get a little bit crispy. Also, if you want to use your stove, you can. You will have to use a little bit more oil so they don't stick. But also, if you're mixing them into some kind of stir fry, so that has a lot of flavor in it. And then you can mix in whatever protein you're using as well in there. And then I know there's like a lot of companies that make like teriyaki and soy sauce and other things that don't have any sugar. So because you have to look on the labels because a lot of them are high in sugar. So that's something. But then there's also like a ton of websites if you want to make your own and they don't take very long at all. And you'd be surprised, you probably have all the ingredients in your house already. So those are definitely ways to make them taste a little better as well. You can also pickle them. That's a little bit more time consuming, but if you're really into kimchi and stuff like that's great for gut health. And if you want to make like bowls where you add like your vegetables that way, then you don't necessarily always need to add a dressing because those have a lot of flavor.
What about crunchy? That's like chips.
Yeah, so you can do that in
chips.
your oven too. Like you cook it and then you broil it or something. So you cook it a little bit longer. And that's really just how you dry it out. I'll do that sometimes with kale. So I'll put kale in the oven and then with a little bit of like sea salt and a little bit of oil. And then it turns them into kind of kale strips. And that's nice.
If a person said, I want to have a plant-based menu, what would you recommend? I see that you talk about rotating cuisines. Do you want to elaborate a bit on that?
I love food from all over the world. So a lot of times I'll just wake up and I'm like, we're going to have Indian food tonight. Tomorrow we're having Japanese. We're going to have Irish food. So I would say, what is your palate? What are you craving? And then go from there. And there's always a reason why you're craving something. You know how you hear those people, they're like, oh, I was craving chalk. And I was like, you're not actually craving chalk, like your iron or something is low. So there's something your body normally tells you what you need. So most of the time your cravings, it's because you need it. Obviously, nobody needs like 8 pounds of sugar a day. That's just like withdrawal.
Those are different kinds of cravings. Yeah.
My body told me I needed it. And I'm like, okay, don't quote me on that. But yeah, I would say listen to your body. So normally I'm like, oh, I really feel like this. And then I blend what I have in my home or I go grocery shopping. But I really feel like at the start, when you're making something, the prep to get the flavors correct is like the most important. And then you just follow the cooking times. But I think especially with vegetables, when you rush the cooking, especially with like eggplant or something, people are like, oh, it was chewy or it wasn't cooked enough or it didn't have any flavor. It's like super easy. You just need a little bit more time. Like when you're cutting it up, just let a little bit of salt sit on it for 30 minutes, then rinse it off and then cook it how you want. It'll take that bitterness right out and all the flavors of whatever you're pouring into it soak in. Because I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, you cut up an eggplant and you pour like a half a cup of oil on it and then it's like, it soaks it all in and you're like, oh, I need more oil. But if you do the salt thing, it like takes some of that out. So it'll let you soak whatever you want in. So same thing. If you just throw it in a pan, it's not going to take whatever sauce you're putting in and absorb it. So you just need a little bit of time with that.
Do you do something about breakfast that's different?
Oh, okay. There's probably like a couple things that I like to eat a lot. So I really coconut yogurt. I'll add granola onto it and fresh fruit if you can eat that. I usually put berries on there, are lower in sugar, and especially like blueberries and stuff. They're really good for like your eyes and your heart. So things like that. I like tofu, so I'll make a lot of tofu scrambles, or I'll make some like vegan quiches every now and then. Sometimes like home style potatoes, and I'll make that in a big batch so I can just add that to something. Smoothies.
Okay.
And then if I am having a cheat day, maybe some like muffins or something. But I'm not a huge, personally a breakfast person, so I don't eat a ton of breakfast. But yeah, those are probably like my go-tos that I personally eat a lot. And then I usually throw in like a ton of spinach, kale or zucchini or something else. So there's lots of vegetables in there. And that really fills me up as well. So I'm not just getting all that starch. The coconut yogurt, it's also high in probiotics. So that's great.
Give me 3 global comfort meals that are plant-based, just like to get that sense of comfort.
Like comfort meals. There's certain things that I love. Like now that it's colder, I was actually craving shepherd's pie. So I just made that yesterday. And that one, I use a little bit of vegan ground beef in it. But if you don't want to use any fake vegan meat, you can also switch it out for fruit or lentils or crumbled tofu. And the rest is just all vegetables. So a ton of like carrots and potatoes and celery, and then a little bit of red wine that's reduced. And it just, when you eat it, you just feel like you're in Ireland. It warms your tummy. It's so good. Other things I love, I am obsessed, especially if I'm like a little feeling under the weather, hot and sour soup, but without egg. And just something about it just warms my heart. Like every time I eat it, it just makes me super happy. And then something that I love to make, and it's not really like a meal, but I just love the way it smells. I love eating it, is I make this Dutch oven bread, and it's so crispy on the outside and so soft on the inside. And I use some vegan cashew butter, and it takes half the day to make it.
Most of us wouldn't be able to eat that because we just eat the whole loaf. That's
warm
fair. Bread is, oh my God. Okay. All right. The mock meats. Do you want to say a little bit more? Do you have more to say about that? The sort of fake
absolutely.
meats.
So some of them are actually getting really good. The ingredient lists are like, some I can actually be like, I will use this. I think that the ingredients are pretty well done. It's mostly just vegetables. There are some that I still consider junk food. And the only reason I add them in my cookbook is because people have a lot of availability to it. And sometimes they want something quick. They're like, I don't want to have to order jackfruit online. I couldn't find it. And I want something right now, or it's here and I know this person is going to want to eat it. And I just want to be able to use it in a healthier way. So I would say like 1 in 8 recipes will have some kind of like vegan meat in it. And I try and use the better brands, but I think that's why, because I don't want people to feel like they can't use those things. And my whole concept is, and sometimes you're out and you're like, this is all I can eat. You're like, I'm here, I have to eat.
Do you have in your book the companies that you think offer better of these kind of mock meats than other companies?
I do. And those are the ones I put in the book.
Okay.
And then I do talk about like where you can get certain products. So stores that I found them, and then certain ingredients where you can find them online that are a little bit healthier. But it's always good to read the labels, because they're, especially the ones that started out years ago, I think their whole concept was like, we just need to have a lot of protein so it matches the protein in regular meat. But we don't care all the things that we had to add to it to make it taste like meat and what it's doing to our bodies. So it's not like, people are like, I need a certain amount of protein, and protein, yes, is important, but that's not all you need. And it also is like, some people might need 30 grams of protein a day. Some might only need 10.
That was one of my next questions was, what kind of foods can you focus on to ensure that a person who wants more protein, like as a person gets older, they're recommended to eat more protein. People who are on GLP-1s need to eat more protein. What kind of foods give more protein?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, so a couple things that come to mind that have a lot of protein that people actually don't really know about. So there's something called TVP, textured vegetable protein. That has like something, I'm going to say the number and then I'll have to fact check it, but I think it's 30 grams of protein or something. It's more than like a chicken breast for a cup of textured vegan protein. It's really high. It's shelf stable, so it's great. It comes dried, and then you add whatever.
Is it a powder?
No, it looks like dried like ground beef or something. Sucked all the moisture out of it. So you rehydrate it, and then it has the same kind of texture as chewy ground beef or something, but it takes on the taste of whatever you add to it. So if you were making like spaghetti with like ground up ground beef, like that would be a great substitute, or ground up turkey or something. I would say it has the same consistency as like ground up cooked turkey.
Okay.
Like, 'cause it's a little spongy. I feel like that's not the right word, but it's not like as dry.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one way to get extra protein.
It's delicious. Then also, depending on how much you need, but almost all vegetables have protein in them. And then depending on your calorie intake per day, nuts, pumpkin seeds, cashews, almonds, really high in protein. Don't go out and eat 4 cups of nuts a day, because that your calorie intake is going to be insane, but they're a great snack. And they're really high in protein. I love like throwing them on my salads and stuff too, for a little bit of excess.
Okay. And there's grains like quinoa that have a lot of protein in them.
Absolutely. I mentioned this. So a lot of times also for breakfast, I'll take chia seeds. So I'll soak them overnight in like plant-based milk or coconut milk or something. And then they're actually easier to digest if you let them open up, and after they're soaked. Like, you can just throw them into whatever food you're eating, but your body has a harder time metabolizing them if they're not like a little bit like open from like the moisture of whatever you add to them. Chia seeds, really high in protein, as well as like flax seeds and hemp seeds. And you can add them all to salad or into any of your beverages, or you can sprinkle them in to your dessert. Well, yeah, yogurt, dessert, or however you want to make your sweet that's not covered in sugar. But yeah, I have a huge container that is just in my cabinet, and I add it to everything. So that's really high in protein. It's also really healthy for you.
Now, for people who do want to eat low carb, is it possible to do a keto? Is it possible to be plant-based keto?
Absolutely. There's definitely things that you can do. So obviously you would use like monk fruit or something if you're making a dessert. You just have to look at like the ingredient list. But like most vegetables, I think, are fine just based on how you cook them. Like I said, avocados are great. I think anything, you just have to get because I know in keto, you have to keep your ketosis exactly right. Otherwise you go out of it. That's also one of the reasons why people have so much trouble with it. And they like either feel super sick or they gain a bunch of weight because they're not actually in ketosis. I tried the diet once. It was a little too hard for me. My husband did okay with it, but I also think people have to be a little bit careful when they do it, because some people are like, I've been on keto for a year. And I'm like, again, not a doctor, but I think it's one of those diets where it's supposed to be like short term. You just have to just make sure not a lot of fruits, no sugar, refined carbs, really just stay with like whole foods.
You can't eat grains because it's too high carbs. Like keto, it's like 30, 40 grams of carbs. So grains are out, starches are out. It's basically just the green vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely possible.
But it is a challenge. When you did keto, were you a whole food or plant-based at that point?
When I did it, I was eating a little bit of fish. So I
Yeah.
was, so I think I honestly, I think I lasted 3 days. Like it made me
Okay.
feel really sick.
It wasn't for you.
It didn't work so well for my body, but I know some people really do well with it.
You focus on the cultural, traditional, it's not just about the food. So how
Yeah.
do you leverage some of that towards making a meal extra good?
I really, so all the places in my book are places I've gone. So I really love to immerse myself, go into that country, travel around, get a sense of like the spices they use, go to restaurants and like really get a sense of the smells and like the food that is very popular there. And I get my ideas based off that. So if it's a country that uses a lot of corn meal or something like Colombia or something like, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and incorporate stuff like that into my recipes and then just keep like the texture. The only thing I really try and switch out is like any of the animal products. So I try and keep it really true and then try and keep it whole food base and like healthy.
Okay. So really what you're doing is you're just figuring out how they made their food, but taking the animal product out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is there one particular cooking skill that you think somebody should learn? Because a lot of people don't know how to cook either.
I agree. The one cooking skill that I personally think is like the biggest payoff would be learning how to properly build flavor through fat, heat, and time, like I said before. So if you're taking plant-based food, especially like when you're seeking like stability and satisfaction, knowing how to saute, roast, simmer food slowly, intentionally, and making
Uh,
it more like I feel like that really builds on the flavor and then making sure you use enough fat and spices that like help incorporate the taste. So like onions, garlics, things that are fragrant like that really give the dish like substance. And then it can feel a lot healthier than like throwing in like lard or anything else that you think has a lot of flavor. I don't use like most recipes. It's like a teaspoon or a tablespoon of oil for the whole thing. And then you get your flavor from like your vegetables, your onions, your garlic, your
uh,
spices. Like most spices don't have any calories and there's hundreds of spices that you can use. So that's definitely something I really look into. And same thing, you don't need a ton of salt. Like most of my recipes, it's a fourth of a teaspoon or
oh,
something, maybe
wow.
a pinch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be doing a cooking class and they're like, that's it. They're like, no, we need more. I'm like, there'll be salt on the table just in case,
Uh,
but it's always easy to add in. It's harder to take out. So that's my concept. Like less is more.
do you have a list of default meals that a person should have? Like when they come home and they just don't want to cook, what should they have in their fridge?
Yeah, same thing, like things that are easy to make in bulk that you can build on.
Okay.
Like obviously you're on keto, there's certain things you can't do, but I like to make all like my grains or like fillers, I call so like potatoes, chickpeas, lentils, rice, things like that. But I make them
Okay.
pretty bland and then I can add whatever sauces I want to them later. So I'll make a lot of that, all my vegetables. So usually I'll just fill the fridge with all that and then I'll be like, okay, today. And sometimes I'll just literally pull it out of the fridge and just eat it plain like that. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm
Uh,
going to make this dish and I already have it ready. So that's like my go-to.
yeah. It sounds to me, though, like you said earlier, you have a cook day. Like you're not the kind of person that just relies on pasta every night.
I don't like eating the same thing like almost ever.
Uh,
Not even like the same thing multiple times in a day. I like to eat multiple things every day, all day. That's why I was like, if I'm gonna make something like rice is easy. Like I can eat rice all the time, but I don't want the same plain rice. Like I want to add
uh-huh.
flavor to it. So things like that I'll make. But if I was gonna make a casserole or something, I'd probably make like individual size casseroles because I don't want to have to eat it over and over again. But I know some people love that. So if you know that's how you like to eat and you like eating the same thing, then yeah, definitely cook in bulk.
Yeah. Okay. For somebody who does struggle with food addiction or disordered eating, do you work with that at all?
I've definitely worked with people that have specialty diets. It's been like, I've been diabetic, I'm
Yeah.
keto, I am allergic to onions. I'm like, got it. Okay, we'll work off that platform. My mom actually does have food addiction. And I remember when I was little, I would see her standing in front of the refrigerator eating. And I didn't know at the time. And
The classic
I was like,
symptom.
how convenient. Like, this saves you so much time. But I thankfully would just stop eating when I was full. But then I think a boyfriend or somebody was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I was just, I wanted a snack. And they're like, but you have to take it out of the fridge and put it on a plate. You don't stand in front of the fridge and eat. And I was like, oh, I just thought it was like quicker. But I do know when I go and visit her, sometimes like I'll make something and I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, did you eat all my food? And she's, oh, well, it was in it was in the fridge and I was hungry. And I was like, okay. So I definitely like can grasp, I can understand, even though it's something I've never dealt with, because it's funny because my husband used to say, do you know that when you're full, you say, I'm full and you push your plate away? And I was like, have I always done that? He goes, yeah. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. No, I didn't know I did that. So I wonder if other people like say it, but then they just don't stop.
Yeah,
They're like,
that's it exactly. They say I'm full and still want more.
there's that don't waste food mentality. And my whole brain is you're wasting food if you're eating it because your body doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with putting it in a to-go box and eating it later.
But there is mindless eating phenomena.
I think that some people, I don't know how rigid to be like, or to be like, you need to put a lock on your fridge or something, or just buy food as needed. I know that my mom, for her, she's on a food program where they send her recipes and then she has to weigh all her food and then she has to email them and tell them what she's eaten that day. And that works for her.
Yeah, that's a lot of people in our community.
Yeah. So I think it's a control thing. And then some people, it might be an emotional thing. I know that sometimes like when I'm sad, I crave junk food and then I end up feeling terrible afterwards. So it's kind of like one of those things you're like, oh, why did I do that to myself? I know that there's like those things they used to do for teenagers where you put your phone in like a box and it will only open after like you do all your homework or a certain time. So maybe there's like a lock you can put on your refrigerator.
Yeah. There's a number of techniques similar to that. Yeah. What are some common mistakes that people who decide to go plant-based do that might leave them vulnerable to rebound eating later or eating foods that are not part of the plant-based tradition?
I think the most common mistake I see going plant-based in a way that's not really nourishing for people would probably be when they remove the animal products and they replace them with like ultra processed foods.
Yes.
They don't replace them like with enough structure, fat, protein, or calories or something. So that it basically like forces the body to feel deprived, or even it's not healing because you're basically taking something that, like, steak usually is just one protein and then whatever that animal was eating, but processed meats have 30 things in it. So like it's harder for your body to metabolize that. So that's definitely something they're like, I took steak and I replaced it with steak. And I was like, and then I think another big issue is relying too heavily on like light foods or substances. So like, they're like, I'm eating really healthy, so I just only eat salads or smoothies or snack foods or highly processed vegan products. And they often don't provide enough grounding or satisfaction that people need, especially those with a history of food addiction. So
like what? What should they make sure they include?
I would say like more whole foods, like cook like a bunch of asparagus with a little bit of oil and lemon or something. And then to like maybe some potatoes or some rice, instead of being like, oh, I got this chicken that's covered in like orange glaze and then a bunch of like potato chips or something. So just make whole food choices, like something that's a little bit healthier and that also will fill your stomach and it's a little bit more satisfying. Like it doesn't just fill you up for 10 minutes and then you're hungry again.
So they do have to eat something that's more dense. Right?
Yeah. Also, I think that a lot of people, they feel like they have to skip meals or they just are grazing constantly, which some people really work well with that, where they just like nibble on food all day, like depending on what you're eating. Like I know some people that are like, nope, I have my 3 meals and I'm great. And then some people are like, I have 1 or 2 meals and then I have little snacks throughout the day. Great too. And then I know people that are like super hardcore and they're like, I fast for 17 hours and then I can eat whatever I want for this 6 hours and then I don't eat again. And I'm like, you can eat anything in those 6 hours? I was like, what a great trick. Let me try that. Doesn't work for everybody. You were like, oh, you meant I couldn't just eat cake for 6 hours straight? Got it.
Yeah.
I think also it's interesting because the more you eat, your body gets used to that. So it thinks it needs more food. And then the less you eat, it thinks it needs less food. But the problem is when you eat too little, you're not actually losing any weight because your body goes into starvation mode. And so it stores all the fat, which then is stuck to your body. So it's like you have to eat a certain amount of calories to get rid of that fat. So my kind of theory is if you're hungry, eat something. Don't eat 1,000 calories necessarily. Maybe start with a little bit of nuts or a half of avocado, or put your foot in and see. Because sometimes I'm like, God, I'm starving. If I don't eat right now, I'm going to just pass out. And then I literally will have a cup of yogurt and I'm like, God, I'm so full. So and then there are other times I'm like, nope, still hungry. So I really think, and sometimes you might not be hungry, you might be thirsty. So definitely make sure you're consuming enough water. I personally am not a big component of like sugary drinks. I don't like soda. I don't really like much carbonated stuff. Like I will go for kombucha every once in a while. I like a little bit of a Pellegrino, or like I have a soda stream. But I mostly like water, tea, every now and then some coconut water.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I don't even really like juice that much, but that's me.
Do you have any final advice for somebody who is struggling with food addiction like your mom and wants to go plant-based whole food?
Yeah, just when you go into it, I would say go in with the concept of just thinking of simple foods as vegan and start easy. Just buy vegetables. Just think of the one ingredient rule. If it has more than one ingredient, don't buy it. Then from there, you can build on. Obviously, this is a little bit difficult if you're like switching and you're like, I drink milk every day. Obviously, like almond milk has 6 ingredients in something because milk, if you looked at the ingredients in milk, it's not just milk usually. There's some kind of stabilizer in it. So, but pick one that has no more than 10. And then maybe stay away from like the vegan cheeses for now. Definitely don't buy any of the salad dressings. Make your own at first, especially if like you're low FODMAP, because there's garlic and onion in all of them. And I really think like sauces are not your friend at first, especially ones that are already made, unless you find like a keto one. But then also decide if you like how it tastes.
Before we close up, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Okay, my book.
You can show it again,
is called, it's so weird with the camera. I like the angle.
Yeah, you got it. That's perfect. Just like that. And it's a beautiful cover, by the way.
Thank you. I designed it myself. I'm very proud.
Wow.
That's called Vegan Flavors of the World. And the second book's going to be coming out in the next couple months. So this book has 12 countries in it. And the second book will also have 12 countries. So it's basically places I visited in the world, food that I just love that I have made into plant-based food. And it's just been such a joy to be able to do this. And like really, I feel like there's 5 foods that like really get utilized a lot. And I want all foods to be represented. So that was like my goal.
So you wanted to go beyond the typical 5.
There's like eggs.
What are the typical 5 and what are you including beyond it?
So I think it was like in culinary or colonial times, like they tried to figure out a way to make food cheaper or something. So they were like, oh, eggs are a great stabilizer and everybody needs dairy. And so if you look at it, it's like in everything.
Yeah.
But there's really easy ways to switch that out. Like you can, like when you whip an egg and it turns into meringue or something, you can do that with aquafaba now. Like you don't need to use eggs to hold your food together anymore. You have flax seeds, you have applesauce, you have just eggs, you have all these other components. You don't need to use regular milk. You have all these plant-based milks. And if you have a nut allergy, you don't use those. You can also use oat milk. They have pea milk. They have hemp milk, like anything you can think of. And then there's just so many vegetables out there that like people don't even think of using. I'm sure you've gone down the vegetable aisle and you're like, you just pick it up. You're like, I don't even know what this is. There are so many times I'll use like bok choy in a recipe and people are like, this is amazing. What is it? And they sell it everywhere. So I just like really want to like make those things more mainstream.
And what are some of the countries that you're including?
In the new book or the old book?
In the old book, the one that people can get.
So the United States, Mexico, China, Thailand, Greece,
Gotta be
Italy.
India.
Yeah. India will be in the second book. Yeah. which is one of my favorites. It was really hard. When I got to Asia, I was like, oh, what countries do I use? So opted to put India in the second book.
Good. My next question is going to be, what's next for you? It's the second book.
It's the second book. And yeah, I have some travel coming up because I'm going to start writing the third book. So starting to do research. Yeah. And then just some looking for like markets and other places I'll like go and sell the book. And currently it's available on Amazon and Ingram Spark, but looking for other distributors as well.
Okay. All right. Last question. It's our signature question. If you could tell a younger version of yourself something about your whole food plant-based approach, what would it be? Because you weren't initially whole food plant-based.
Yeah, it's funny. I was born plant-based. My parents were vegan until I was 6, but then one day they were like, just kidding. But I would probably tell my past self that food is not something to master or control. It's probably something to listen to and to be in a relationship with. I'd probably also tell myself that steadiness matters more than perfection, and that being fed consistently is far more healing than getting it right. And I'd remind myself that craving comfort and flavor isn't a flaw, it's information, and that the body is always trying to protect you, not sabotage you. So you should listen to it. And also that food carries memory, culture, and care, and that returning to a simple traditional meal can be a way to back yourself, and not be something to be afraid of. And you don't need more rules. You need warmth, nourishment, and trust. So I think that's something that I would work towards. Most of all, I tell myself that healing doesn't come from fighting food. It comes from letting food support you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Adina, for this conversation.
Thank you. It was really enjoyable.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Food Junkies Recovery from Food Addiction. Make sure to join our Facebook group, Sugar Free for Life Support Group, I'm Sweet Enough. Molly and Clarissa are food addiction professionals who offer one-to-one counseling and group coaching through Sweet Sobriety. Please subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in today's episode, we'd appreciate you leaving us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps grow our show and allows us to reach others who need to hear this message of recovery. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Dr. Tarman's book, Food Junkies. And as Vera always says, the power is ours.